Good morning, everyone. This is Larry Pino, of course, and welcome to the very first of our videotapes. The other night I did not tell you that we were going to actually be doing these videotapes on a weekly basis. So my objective this morning is really to do three things here. The first thing that I want to do is to make sure you understand how these videotapes get involved in the overall instruction for the course. Number two, I want to talk a little bit about the concept of what this course is about. And then number three, what my particular perspective is with respect to entrepreneurship. The idea with the videotapes is the fact that on a weekly basis, our class, as you know, is on Thursday nights. On a weekly basis, we have the opportunity to be able to just simply do some takeaways. So what I plan on doing, this is not Friday morning, however, it will be Friday morning from this point. What I'll probably do on Friday morning, sometimes if Fridays are not available, maybe on a Monday or Tuesday, is really just simply focus on the takeaways for what the night class was for the evening before. So we'll do our class on Thursday. There'll be some takeaways that we're going to be providing. And then with that, I'll just simply review those with you on Friday morning. I don't always dress this way. As I mentioned to you in class, I dress like a lawyer most of the time. However, Fridays are casual, so you'll have an opportunity to see me occasionally casually and sometimes in legal garb. My point is going to be to spend maybe 10 minutes, maybe maximum 20 minutes to review those things that I think that are relevant to you as far as what the evening session was the night before. Let me talk about, having said that, let me talk a little bit about this particular class. What we did this class is we focused on what the course was going to be about. After we got to know each other, you got a little bit of an opportunity to know something about my background, and obviously it was important to me to know something about your backgrounds. So with that, we then shifted to what the purpose of the course was. Let me just simply summarize what that looked like from your perspective. What I wanted to do is to make sure that this particular course was not necessarily about the nuts and bolts of business. As you know, at Rollins and any number of other places, the business departments on both the undergraduate and the graduate levels have any number of courses which are focused on how to operate a business, how to structure a business, how to manage a business, organizational development with respect to the business and so forth. And that's all fine. And the nuts and bolts are obviously critical for the successful operation of a business. But that's not what really my focus is. My focus, and I got involved in that early on, and by early on I mean certainly with respect to some of the companies that I had started, when I noticed that in each of those cases, they tended to, once developed, they tended to end up producing hockey stick growth, for want of a better term. And I started to develop some thought processes around the concept of rapid enterprise development, and that really occurred in, I would say, the mid-2000s, 2005, 2006, when the company that I had formed was growing 200 to 300% per year. And as a result of that, I really began looking at what those processes were that could be integrated into a company for the purpose of developing that large-scale growth. And that's what I really wanted to focus on. In those days, by the way, there wasn't a whole lot of literature. There were a few books that had come out in terms of innovation and how innovation actually affected it. But most of the time, most of the books in business, whether it's on the popular trade or it's in the scholastic literature, the scholarly literature, was really focused primarily about different aspects of business operation at different levels, primarily corporate levels, only to some extent entrepreneurial levels. So from my standpoint, what I wanted to do is to find out how these things could be incorporated into a business for the purpose of developing that business rapidly. In the course of doing that, I developed certain processes and modalities that came, by the way, not so much from observing other people, but by actually doing in the business and seeing what the effects were inside that business. Since that time, we're fortunate because since 2006, 2007, there have been a number of writers who have focused on the field of what I'm going to call, want of a better term, rapid enterprise development, and have had the opportunity to be able to think about it, to write about it, to analyze it in ways that can actually be taught. You're going to see in the syllabus for this class some of those materials that are just exceptional at being able to take a look at what those processes look like. So we're going to have an opportunity to study those. One caveat, though, that I will tell you is that in the materials where you'll see, again, rapid enterprise development, substantial accelerated growth, if you will, most of it tends to be technology-centric. And while it's true that those companies that are technology-centric do have the capability of growing rapidly, what I also want you to understand is that those underlying processes, those underlying what I call modalities, are modalities that you can apply to other businesses irrespective of whether they're involved in technology or they're involved in other areas that are more mainstream businesses that might not necessarily be in the technology field. So, number one, wanted to just simply indicate what these video sessions are going to be about. Number two, I wanted to emphasize what this course was going to be focused on, which is not just the nuts and bolts of business. We'll get to those within the context, but primarily, what do we do to integrate into the DNA of a business those things that allow that business to grow rapidly? So that's number two. The third thing I want to talk about just a little bit is my particular perspective on business. I think it's going to come across, and I know it came across in class for you. I love business. I've been in business my entire life. As you know from my introduction, I practiced law my entire adult career. And the other side of that same coin is I've also been in business my entire adult career. So I love business. I love any aspect of business. Some businesses I like more than others, but the fact is I just love business itself. And I take a relatively different approach to the way business is. When you talk to some people, it's like business is all about making a profit. And business is about getting the biggest profit margins. And what it does for your lifestyle and all that. And I'm sure that all of that factors in because clearly we're all incentivized to do well for ourselves and for our families. So there's that component too, and I don't want to denigrate it. However, there's another driver, I think, in my passion. Recently, there's literature that's out there. Matter of fact, an article that hit the scholarly literature not too long ago where there was a discussion about what is entrepreneurship. Is entrepreneurship the concept of discovering a particular opportunity and then exploiting it, or is the objective of entrepreneurship the actual creation of that opportunity? These two, Sharon Alvarez and Jay Burney, both scholars who wrote that particular article, both indicated that the way that you could approach it from the standpoint of a metaphor was entrepreneurship about discovering that mountain that was there. It was there all along. The objective of the entrepreneur was to actually discover it. Or was that mountain not there at all, but that it actually got created in the context of the creation, if you will, of the particular entrepreneur who actually did, in fact, not find the mountain, but create the mountain and then scale the mountain, if you will. So those two kind of metaphors. And I think, by the way, there's a lot to be said for both of those. I take somewhat of a middle position in entrepreneurship, and I don't have any real language to describe it. And I haven't written any scholarly articles on it. But I do want to suggest that my view of entrepreneurship is somewhere in between. The analogy, metaphor that I used the other day is that I really see entrepreneurship as very much of a sculpting function. There is a block of clay that's there. I'm going to equate that to that mountain that these particular authors wrote about, these particular professors at Ohio State wrote about. But it's not just the issue of that block of clay that's there, that mountain that's there. There's a sculpting function that comes about. It's an artistic function that comes about. And the way that I view my role as an entrepreneur is with a mallet and a chisel, and one that I have the opportunity to begin to peck away, hit hit away at that particular block of clay for the purpose of actually then seeing something being formed out of my creation. And I then, I take a look at it and I knock it about and I chisel it some more. And then I sit back and I look at it and I see what it looks like. Sometimes I've referred to that as looking at it in the rear view mirror. You do stuff and you throw it out there, and then you look in the rear view mirror, you look in the side mirrors to see how it shows up in real life. That's kind of the process. It is a sculpting process. It's not on the one side discovering the mountain. The mountain is there. It's not on the other side creating the mountain. There's a portion of that which already exists, but it is in fact shaping the mountain, to try to extend that metaphor, into a way which reflects your image and likeness, the creative output of your entrepreneurial instincts that are emerging in front of you on a day-by-day basis. And that's the role of entrepreneurism that I see. I say that to you not necessarily because there's any intention to, to craft another theory, if you will, about how entrepreneurism actually works, but more to just simply reflect for you the fact that we will, in this course, be involved in a very creative process. That creative process is the process whereby, through a block of clay in front of you, we'll have that opportunity to chisel it into something which hopefully takes form, hopefully takes shape, and ultimately takes artistic value. And to the extent that we can now both look at that, all of us look at that, step back and say, we done good. We did well in the creation of this particular piece of art that now has an opportunity to work on its own, to be able to create its own value, not only for the customers that it serves, but also for the employees, the associates whose livelihoods now rely on it. So in any event, with all that said, and I know that I'm about past my first video with you at 12 minutes, not bad. Let me just simply suggest to you that I am very, very pleased to be teaching this course. These will be posted most of the time in the mornings, and at any time, as I've indicated to you, if you want to follow up by personal consultation with me, conversation with me, or just seeing me after class, you certainly have the opportunity to do that. So all is well. Delighted that you joined me for this, and I'll look forward to seeing you Thursday night. Take care and God bless.